You are now watching Pan in Motion TV.
On November 19th, myself and 3 colleagues traveled to Morocco as 4 panists representing Brooklyn Steel Orchestra performing in a production called Juve Fest. Juve Fest was done in collaboration with Something Positive and Pagua Mass. This production included acting, singing, dancing, African drumming, steel pan playing, and percussive nuances. We used this production to perform in a festival called Visa for Music, which showcases music from different parts of the world and was now in its 4th year. For our first day in Morocco, we took a walk out on the town to see what the area had to offer. After that, we came back to the hotel and decided to practice on our adjoining balconies and serenade anyone who was willing to listen. The musical excerpt that we're practicing in this clip was a collaborative arrangement or a joint effort between Odie Franklin, Jelani Roberts, Wayne Bernard, and myself. Later that day, we took our instruments to a nearby studio that allowed us to rehearse the full group production of Juve Fest. What I enjoyed most about the production of Juve Fest is that it encompassed most, if not all, of the elements that you see and hear in a traditional Juve celebration. Although we weren't there for a full 24 hours, there was something about that first rehearsal in Africa, that vibe, that energy that was brought to us that was really felt amongst the group, and it was an interesting sight to see. Day 2 in Morocco happened to be my favorite day of the entire trip. We had our second and final rehearsal in the evening, but before that we had the opportunity to take a tour of Rabat, which was the city that we were staying in. We were able to see and learn about a lot of historical landmarks and sites. We also learned about their rich culture and history and heard quite a few interesting stories. One story in particular that stood out was a story in tradition about women coming to this pond to feed an eel an egg, and if that eel ate the egg, it meant that the woman would get pregnant, and they believed that the stork delivered the baby, and there were a lot of storks living in the area, and they attributed the story of the stork to that that story, that history, that tradition. What was also interesting is while we were actually hearing about this story, there was a woman that was actually present at the location that we were at, getting ready to feed this eel this egg to determine whether or not she'd be pregnant. So I thought that was fitting. Yep. Kind of motion. We have street performance today. We went all white. Let's see what's up. Day 3 in Morocco was pretty interesting. We were able to put on a street processional, which I believe was the first of its kind, and the looks on everyone's faces were just priceless. It was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen from my view, which is looking at everyone's reactions to everything that they were seeing, from the music that we were playing to the different Juve characters that were on the street interacting with the crowd and dancing and smiling and singing. There were mocha jumbies present, and I thought that was also pretty cool. And it was just an interesting sort of sight to see how they react to a culture that I grew up in and I learned about, and I live every year through Carnival.
Traffic jam today, people vexed, Vandy Road. Cat in motion, VSO, everybody's in here. Everybody's in here. Shout out to Shelly for the headband.
Shout out to my unofficial manager, Shelly.
VSO, we inside.
I'd have to say that on day 3, I learned the most about appreciating someone else's culture, or appreciating taking the time to learn and look into someone else's culture. That Juve experience, knowing what it is for myself, growing up in a Trinidadian household, and just being able to witness that and that be a part of the culture that I grew up in, and then watching so many people be a part of the parade that has never seen it, and is now seeing it for the first time, and just the way that they were seeing it, and the way that we were dressed, and the fact that we looked so clean as opposed to how we're used to seeing it with lots more mud and paint and oil, and even the fact that the processional was actually done in the evening time. And so it started out pretty sunny, and then kind of gradually got darker as the time went on, as opposed to what we're used to, which is starting at the wee pre-dawn hours and then going into the daylight, them experiencing it in the reverse, or the inverse, sorry. I just thought that was also an interesting moment for everyone, for both them and us. I think on their end, what is interesting is that they are seeing this and thinking that this is what it can be, or this is what it can look like, and it's just kind of cool to wonder if they took the time out afterwards to Google or search what it may actually look like. And yeah, I just thought that was cool.